we originally.
Oh, you're
I was
good.
trying to reach this.
What is the date? It's August the 10th.
Already.
All right.
Good?
Yep.
Did you do the mouse over?
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's August the 10th of 2023. This is the Council Rock School District Board of School Directors Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. And we'll begin with introductions going around the table, starting to my right.
Steve Novis, board member.
Anthony Rapp, Director of Business Administration.
Andy Sanko, Superintendent.
Mary McKee, School Board.
Jessica Binda, Supervisor of Facilities.
Ed Salomon, School Board.
Joe Adalco, School Board.
Michael Roosevelt.
Bob Hickey, School Board. And I'm Ed Tate, School Board, chairing tonight's meeting, and we will start with facilities. Yes, please.
Thank you. On the agenda for tonight, it looks like it's pretty long, but we're gonna, a lot of update kind of information. So first is Brightly Software Event Manager upgrade. I do need to talk about that briefly again. So Finestone Library packing and moving, Richboro Elementary School development agreements, Richboro Elementary School terrazzo option, Richboro Middle School chiller, Hillcrest final mechanical change order, credits change order, Superior Turf and Landscape for the house track agreement, Rock softball license agreement, and the ABM end of school year survey results. So first is the Brightly software. The last time we spoke, I actually made a mistake. So we've got prices for two options, professional and enterprise. I thought the professional one was the upgrade over the enterprise. So that was my mistake. It was a misunderstanding, and the addition included the outside user group access. That was a main driver for us to update it. The enterprise edition was actually the upgrade. So I need to come back and ask to amend the agreement to include the enterprise edition. It's an increase of $13,307.76 over 3 years. So the total contract value will be about $75,500.
Questions, comments?
Okay.
Within budget.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it only increases a couple $1,000 for each year. So we're good with the budget there. Okay, next, Soul Finestone Library packing and moving. So at Soul Finestone, as we were doing the current phase of renovation, we found how the library was fed electrically and for hot water heating. It was completely not how we expected it. So some of the lines were running through the existing renovation area. So we did an evaluation on the cost to run temporary lines for both heating and electric. It would run through the whole 5th grade wing down towards the gym, so it's pretty significant cost. So we evaluated potentially packing up the library now and taking over the library come August through December instead of April through June. We met with the principal. He discussed it with his librarians, and he actually had no problem with the idea, because come January 2nd or 3rd, I forget what day we come back from break, but they would have the school back. So we got a price from Wayne Moving, who just recently did Richboro Middle. They did a phenomenal job to pack up the entire library, move it over to Richboro Middle, and then move it back and unpack it. So the cost is not to exceed $27,200. That includes, again, the redelivery and unpacking of the books. It also includes, they have these big library carts, so they take the books off of the shelving and put it on the carts. They saran wrap the carts and move the entire carts over to Richboro Middle so that we don't have to use boxes. It makes the unpacking much quicker because it keeps all the books in the Dewey Decimal System numbers and makes it much easier. So I would be asking for you guys to approve for Wayne Moving to come in and do this packing.
You weren't required to go out and bid for this?
It's a professional service.
Different, not covered?
And I did call Wayne because they did a phenomenal job, and they were able to turn this around quickly.
Okay.
We consider this in the budget also.
We could cover this in the budget. This is an add to the contract, to the overall project, not the project, the overall project, we would hold the contract. Because this was not anticipated. Typically, we would work with the librarians, pack everything. However, since it is summertime and they're off, we went with this option. Like I said, the other option, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but just to run the temp service down that hallway would be way more than $27,200. So we used some creative thinking to see how we could save the most money and still get the project done in a reasonable time.
So this wasn't in the remediation or even if it's so fine, so we weren't going to move the library at any point?
We were going to pack up the library and store it regardless because we're doing renovation. They were pulling the whole ceiling off.
I think that's where he asked, is that part of, was that what it cost us in the original? Is it similar to that? It's probably a little more because we're doing it for middle school, but isn't that an item in the current?
So the original idea would have been for the teachers, the librarians to pack it all up in boxes, and we would have stored them, like, my maintenance guys would have taken all the boxes and stored them somewhere. But again, since we're doing this over the summertime, we don't really want to put this on the librarians to take care of this.
To come in during summer, do what we thought.
I thought it would be a better opportunity, because they are going to come in and pick what they need to do to teach the librarians are going to pull off what they need to teach library off of a cart and into individual classrooms for these few months. But we figured it was probably a better option for us to have professionals come in, do the packing, clear out the library for us.
So what are students do for folks for the fall?
The librarians are going to pull off what they want. Yes.
Before they.
Yes, yes. We've had conversations with both of them, the librarian and the assistant librarian or librarian assistant, which way it is, but they will be involved in picking off what they need to teach the kids.
Okay, good. Next.
Next is Richboro Elementary School development agreements. It's the Pliget agreement, the stormwater management agreement, and land development agreement. The Pliget agreement just basically says, yes, we have money in the bank. The requirement is, or in the Pliget account, it's $1,661,764.94. Cheryl was able to fill this all out for us, so this is just saying that, yes, we agree, we have the money in the bank. The stormwater management agreement is just saying that, yes, we're putting stormwater in, and yes, we're going to manage it. If we don't manage it, the township has the right to come in, make repairs, and fix whatever is wrong with it and back charge us. And then the land development agreement basically says, yes, we have money in that Pliget account.
Question? No? Nope. Good.
Richboro Elementary School terrazzo option. So when we went through the original bid project, we had the option of selecting the terrazzo in the cafeteria at a cost of $130,000. We went back to the contractor and got pricing for the hallways for the 10 classroom addition corridors. We originally did not have that in the bid documents, but we did want to present the option to have those hallways match the rest of the school now that we have selected the 10 classroom addition. If we choose to select both, the combined price would have a savings of, I think, roughly $40,000 plus or minus. We would have a combined price of $160,000. So I'd like to start our discussion about this. It is a significant amount of money to to put towards flooring?
Just, I have a very big affection to terrazzo.
I knew this was coming.
I do. I just,
Shut down there.
we're talking about an elementary school with a flooring that is for elementary kids, that'll last beyond the scope of anything we can do, which should be in every school, in my opinion, but do it, that's just me. Do whatever you gotta do.
Funny you say that, because this summer we were down at Asbury Park. And if anybody's familiar with that boardwalk, it's the first time I'd ever been there. When you're walking through, they have like, what looks like some abandoned buildings, but as you're walking through, there's terrazzo there that has been there for a billion years.
A billion.
With salt water and you know, the salty air, so
It's just, Mike, you and I walk, buildings, you know, and you and I don't know what it is, it just makes sense to do all the time.
It looks better, it wears better.
Yeah.
It's easier to maintain.
there's no wax.
Do we have room in the budget?
Yeah, so right now, our project contingency is about 4.2 million. So if we were tight, I would never come to you guys and say, hey, this is an option. I know this is very early in the project. I know we will definitely have some unforeseen stuff that pops up in all construction projects. But, you know, if anything, maybe not the cafeteria, you do, you know, the 10 classroom addition, the corridors there to match the rest of the hallways. But never consider. Okay.
Does anybody object to moving forward with both at the 160? Bob?
And, are we done with Richboro, or is there another, I had a question about Richboro, not related to this, but if,
We can talk about Richboro right now.
the rock issue,
Yes.
is there an update?
I do have an update here. I have an updated cost, right?
Are we,
And I wasn't sure if we
I
would
don't
have.
think this is a committee
Right,
conversation.
okay.
Okay, all right.
Full.
Fair enough.
That's,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
still working on it. Still working on it, okay. But,
Oh.
Terrazzo,
Terrazzo, yes.
anybody object? Nobody objects? Steve, no? Good.
Thank you, Jess, for bringing this.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Next, Richboro Middle School chiller. So I do have an update. We have signed an agreement with Train to provide the chiller. So the August through October of this year, the cost is going to be $72,426.67. You guys had previously approved, I believe, $150,000. So that is actually what the agreement is. They are actively working on trucking to get the actual chiller here. The date that they initially gave me is the 21st, which is not next Monday, the Monday after, and cooling will be up by the end of that week. They are actively working on confirming that to make sure that they do have the truck to bring it here. They do know that the drop dead date is the 28th. 28th. We actually changed it to 28th because there's kindergarten orientation that day. So they are aware of the dates. The next thing that I will be bringing to you, probably November, December, is the next amount for the April through October, which is an estimate. It's the increase, the rental cost will increase about 3%. So the estimate's about $141,647 for April through October of next year. So the 200-ton air-cooled chiller replacement option, we did get 3 bids from Johnson Controls, Train, and Fluidics. The reason why I'm not bringing this option to you is because of lead time. If you look at the lead time, they're roughly 48 to 52 weeks. So if you do that math, it brings us to this time next year, roughly. We would cut a PO by the middle of September. If you look at the construction schedule, we're only going to be there till December of next year. So if I came to you and said, okay, I'm going to have a new chiller, I can't install it until October, because once cooling season's over, that's when I can install it, the kids would never use this chiller. It's undetermined what we're going to do at Richboro Middle. So I think we need to have a serious conversation about what are our options with Richboro Middle, what direction we feel we're going to go with it, and then make the educated decision of what we do with the chiller. Roughly, the cost of the chiller is about $500,000. So I don't know that it's $500,000 well spent at this point without having future conversations about the status of Richboro Middle.
Agreed.
Okay.
Questions? When should we start having when can we start having a conversation about Richboro Middle School?
As soon as possible would be my recommendation for a few reasons. Come December of 2024, when we move out, we are mandating that school as much as possible to keep kids in. If we do decide to keep it, there's a significant investment that needs to be made, not just with chillers. We have the infrastructure in general is 60 years old across the district, or across the school. There's a roof project that needs to be done. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to that school.
So you want it on the September agenda for facilities?
October agenda, unfortunately, I won't be here in September,
Okay.
but.
Neither will I, so.
Okay, so I will have some options, put together some pricing, some estimates of work that needs to be done to that school to continue the life of it. We also have a demolition estimate, so it's a conversation that we need to have so that we can plan forward.
October, great.
Okay?
Would Chancellor also be part of the conversation? Because it seems like it's got to be all together, you can't just look at one thing.
We can definitely revisit the chance of conversation in October. I'll put both of those on the agenda.
There is some conversations there are some conversations happening about Chancellor. Dr. Sanko provided a little update recently, so we haven't forgotten. I'm glad you brought it up. You're right. They should be considered in tandem.
Just making a note.
Yep.
Hillcrest final mechanical credit change order. It's for Tri-County Mechanical. It's for unused allowance funds. This officially closes out the mechanical contract. We have all of their as-built, all of their closeout documents. They're actually working with us on a warranty item right now. So the credit will be $55,173.55.
And that's it.
Sorry?
That's it.
That's it for mechanical.
Just, is there anything left that Hillcrest will be done? You don't have to go down the list, there's a list.
There's one warranty item with one of the rooftop units that we're working with Tri-County and Johnson Controls. There's an error that keeps popping up, but it's false error, so we're working through some programming issues.
All the punch list stuff, everything's done in there.
Everything's done. The only thing we're still working on is the flooring in the bathrooms. Still.
We have to go back to the other slide because that was news to me.
The chiller?
Chiller,
Uh-huh.
because that's just coming to my mind now. So the chiller breaks, and all of a sudden, we're looking again back at moving. It's a very tough situation for me when we talk about the middle school, what we're going to do. That's a huge, huge, huge decision for us to be making, and to make it off of a $500,000 chiller. And the other thing is, if we're saying $500,000 for the chiller, yet we're renting it for almost $250,000, right? And so for almost half the cost. So my point is, we have until April of 2023 where we could maybe, if we decided that we're going to put a chiller in there and somehow keep that school for whatever reason. I don't want to stop the ball on looking for a chiller replacement for April 2024.
Well, the problem is, I think the big problem is we could not get delivery on a
Now,
replacement.
this is what I don't want to, I don't accept that as Bible, okay? What I'm saying is, that's one provider gave you a lead time for that. And
No,
that is across the
three.
country.
3.
3 providers that are
But that's
reputable
what I'm
providers of equipment that we have used and trust have given us that.
So besides that, so I'd like somebody to come back and tell me that there is somebody that is offering it by April of 2024, and what that would cost us. And if you exhaust all avenues and that doesn't come up, then I'll be satisfied.
So
That's just me personally.
I've reached out to 3 providers of equipment that I would install. There's plenty of equipment that probably says that, yeah, it can come in April. So my major question would be, A, quality, and B, where are your replacement parts coming from?
200-ton chillers. It's pretty like standard, like, I mean, fine. Just saying, I don't want to not have that option because our, will basically be our hands tied on paying $141,000 for something that would basically be 1/3 of the cost to replace it. We're already stuck with the $72,000 to get through August of October for the fall. But I'm not going to just say, oh, we got 3 people. No, I want to know our options, even if we think they're junk. I want to see that it was done. That's me.
Yeah,
I can do it myself. And this is for them, unless you're doing it too.
well, no, I'm expressing my opinion.
Okay.
Which is just that I feel like, you know, if Jess says they've gone out to the market, they've looked at it, this is the lead time issue with these 3 reputable contractors, I wouldn't want to see her spending or the staff spending additional time trying to
We don't have to.
shake,
We have a
trying
list
to,
of
can I finish?
consortiums.
Trying to shake the trees to see if there's somebody who could deliver a chiller faster than that, because, you know, I
I'm going to
just,
disagree with you because this is a lot of money, first of all, this is a big decision. And number 3, we have a list of consortiums. They will go do the work.
That
for
should be
you.
utilized.
Which one?
So Train is Omnia,
Right?
Johnson Controls is CoStars, and Fluidics is the 3rd. I don't have them listed here, but they're a 3rd consortium.
Good, so that's what I'm saying, use your consortium.
Yes.
She's not doing the work. You ask other people, you shake the bushes and you see what, because the bottom line is, if there's a way to save that April, if that's an option. I mean, I'm really looking forward to having that conversation in October when it comes to.
So we are doing the work, because we're the ones that have to walk the contractors through. We're the ones that have to scope out what they're doing, making sure that they have all the correct information and that we're de-scoping everybody so they have apples to apples so we can compare all the pricing. So
Not good.
we could put it out to bid, but that would take longer because we have to put bid documents together.
Sure.
And Johnson Control and Service, too, correct?
Johnson Controls would service.
So they would recommend what, based on what you.
So Johnson Controls can service all 3 of these items.
Do they
Johnson,
service anything beyond, any other companies beyond those 3?
I can definitely find out.
I think that money.
All I'm trying to say is, look, you got the contractor, you got consortiums, the lead time that drives me nuts when they say a year or something, because that's basically going to tie our hands. It's basically $141,000 is what I'm trying to save if we are going to end up keeping that school. And so that option has to be there if we decide we are going to do something. We're not exactly going to get rid of it right away.
One thing though that I would add to that, we had talked about if the decision to move in it to a different location, and if we did that, well, there's going to be a cost to that, which, you know, I'm not talking about that, but I will say that we would most likely void the warranty on that chiller if we did move it from one school to another.
How long is the warranty usually?
So we have an option for a year and then 5 years.
What would you usually take? What would we usually take historically?
Yes, I hear you.
Right, so not worried about that. Because they'll stay there for a year, and if we decide not to use it, you take that and we're gonna replace another chiller aging in the district, like you said. Not worried about it, the warranties are not gonna buy it for 5 years. I'm trying to save $141,000, that's all. Something,
You're right, it's unfortunately a lot of money for whatever.
and even if we do go to, are we gonna rush and like sell something right away because of a chiller?
Well, you know,
It's a big decision.
you
But I'm
hypothetically,
not suggesting that by all means, I'm just suggesting that we need to start having the conversation whether the chiller went or not.
The chiller has to be replaced, and I think it's gonna be better time to get it back. If we can get, I'm just not satisfied with the lead time of 40-some months.
well, the other issue is, I don't know that we would want to replace the chiller one way or the other, given that we may be closing Richboro Middle School.
But as you
So
said, there's a caveat. You can use
what
it.
I'm going to do is say, we're going to put this on the agenda as is, and if you want to make a motion next week,
There's nothing to put on these, there's no motion because we've already approved the rental for August through October. I'm not asking for anything else to be approved at this time, except for April and October, which I'll be back to you in November or December. So we can continue the conversation in October if that's what you would like.
all right, it can hold till October? All right, we'll let it ride till October, okay?
And we'll continue to reach out to other manufacturers.
Sure, I'm just saying.
I just don't-
Let's state publicly that I don't want to, for you to keep silent, if that's the industry, just want to make sure, put it out there, maybe somebody will feel it and like it. I mean, you already have.
I will say out of the previous 2 districts that I've been at, we did $250 million worth of work annually. This is this is for quality equipment that is based in the United States. This is the typical lead time right now.
And then with the pandemic, things are going to slow down, we're still getting that.
All right, we'll revisit in October.
Next slide, sorry, 2 slides.
Okay, we're good with this?
Yep.
Okay. The next is Superior Turf and Landscape for the Helch Track Agreement. The current agreement expires in June 2024. Bear with me. So they called, they are currently in the process of purchasing all of their materials for next year. So they called and said, hey, we've had an agreement with you guys for a number of years, Superior Turf has, and so they would like to have a future agreement with us so that they can continue to purchase for the 2024 growing season. The current agreement is for 3 years at $110 per acre per year. So basically all they do is they grow grass on the property, strip the grass for turf, and then give us some money. We've had some issues there. It's pretty simple. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but that's how simple it is. There's been a couple issues that a resident that lives up there called about some overgrown shrubs around on the telephone poles. I called them up, they took care of it within a day. So they've been a good partner. To my knowledge, there hasn't been any issues. So the proposed agreement would be for 5 years instead of 3 years. They actually asked for that. In the 5-year agreement, there is an out if we choose to do whatever we want with that property. There is an out that says we can give them, I believe, a 60-day notice to pull all of their grass. Yeah, grass. I'm trying to come up with a better word, but yeah, their grass. Yeah, their grass and dirt off of the property. I had to kind of match some of the other agreements that we've had, a 4% increase per year. So at year 5, we'll be paying $133.36. It's not a huge money maker, but at least someone is maintaining that property. It's not something that we actually have to pay to do. So,
Does year one happen for 2025? Or
Yeah.
is it, will year one start and exclude the expires of June 30, 2024?
so we would let the current one expire on June 30th, 2024, and the new one would be July 1st, 2024.
So that would be year one.
Yes, that would be year one.
And is there an out date or something?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, the thing is, I think it was like, I think a 60-day notice that says, pull your grass or lawn or whatever you're doing there. And then, you know,
Straight away.
yeah, straight away, whatever we're doing with the property.
It looks nice at sunset, by the way.
It's beautiful.
Driven by this.
Where is it?
Durham Road.
Yeah, 413 on the left, if you're going in that direction, I guess that's west or north, I don't know how 413 goes, but it's on the left-hand side, you'll see nice green grass.
Yeah, it's Durham and Steubenville.
Yes.
You
I
might-
just, I really don't expect an answer, but, you know, this has been one of those things that we've sat on for years. And we've had conversations, or these hypothetical conversations, should we have built a school there years ago? Should we build a school there now? You know, what, and I'm not saying it should go on anybody's plate, but I think this, to me, falls in line with Chancellor Bridgeboro Middle School. Do we continue to just rent space for a turf company, or do we consider something there? I don't know. But I think at some point, some board's gonna have to tackle this.
Yeah, and I don't think, you know, I've always been curious,
Mhm.
and people have asked and so forth. I don't know what the zoning parameters are, for example, and other issues, so it's worth exploring.
If we ever find downtime where
In between stuff, yeah.
you can put a thought process together, but I mean, it's an interest, it's a great, you're right, it's beautiful out there, but yet, what are we doing with it?
It's on you.
Should we do
Yeah,
something with it?
yeah, right.
So, just don't know.
Yeah,
Real estate is very good.
Yeah.
You can never make more land.
no,
So,
and you know, just like with Chancellor, we are stewards of some very valuable community property, and we have a responsibility to the community to be very wise and smart about it. So, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Next.
Next is the Rock Gold softball license agreement. It will be, I am proposing that it matches up with the Carusa and Patriot agreements. So it would be backdated for July 1st through, July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2028. Be the 5 years to, again, to match Carusa and Patriot. They would have the use of the South freshman, JV, and varsity fields after school usage, just like Carusa and Patriot. Rock Gold Softball is a excellent partner with us to do a lot of maintenance and upkeep on our field after the school's softball season. I know they were out within the last couple nights doing work there. So year one is proposed at $5,000, and roughly it's a 4% increase. I just rounded the numbers, so it wasn't like the year two would be 5,200, year three would be 5,400, then 5,600 and 5,800. So one of the questions that I know comes up is the hours that they've used versus Carusa and Patriot, and the value of this contract. So they have roughly used 1,022 hours. Their total invoice, this is for 7/1/22 through 6/30/23. So their total invoice amount was $14,100. However, with the in-kind contributions that they have, and I do want to put a huge asterisk on here because the work that the girls do, you can't, like, how do you bill for that? So the work that the girls do doesn't really get incorporated into their in-kind contribution. The in-kind contribution really is like a professional comes out, cuts the grass, puts infield mix, whatever. So their in-kind contribution is $8,754. So for the previous year, their total invoice was $5,349.23. So I think the year one being at $5,000 is a fair assessment, especially because of the work that the girls that play for this team do. You'll see the girls that are on the team, it's mandatory that they go and take care of the field, picking up trash, feeding, breaking up the fields, just general field maintenance, so they all understand how to take care of the field. It's a great program, it really is. So I would like to present this as, again, the $5,000 for year one with a 4% increase.
Any objections or questions?
I had a question, just a conversation, maybe it's a conversation that I had with, I think with you, Ed. Didn't you at one point say like that the fields were not very presentable, or, I mean, how does that factor into all of this?
So our grounds team has a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. So when our teams are playing on fields, they're maintaining them. When softball season ends, roughly May or June, they're focused on other items. And I get an update every day of what they're doing. So, in the summertime, they're doing maintenance stuff, taking down trees, trimming trees, making sure that they're cutting grass in all the locations. So it's very difficult for them to maintain the field at a playing level when other teams are using our fields. So by partnering with an organization like Rockwold Softball, the district overall benefits because they are also maintaining the field. So we typically only cut in the summertime on a cycle of about every 10 days. Now, when they come in, they're cutting at least every 5 days. So they're making them more presentable. So it's really a good opportunity for us to partner with an outside group.
Oh, no, my question is, did we partner with them this year? And if so, then why did the fields?
Not the district. This will be setting the precedent.
Oh, okay, so this does not count what transpired over the summer. This will be going forward. So like next summer, when we look at it, we would expect to see nice looking fields. Because even though they're using them, it still reflects on us as a district, on how I feel.
Without a doubt.
Well, no, so if that corrects it, yeah, I'm good.
It also makes the paperwork a lot easier because, like I said before, when the girls are there doing work on the fields, how do they bill us?
Oh, no,
How do you put a dollar amount to 10 high school kids going out and doing work in the field? So it reduces the amount of paperwork and tracking. It makes it a lot more beneficial.
And you make a great point about, your staff, there's other things that need to be done in the summer. So, right, if they don't have to take care of fields and someone else is willing to do it, and we're good.
Good community engagement. Joe?
It's the people in our community too, so it's not like it's an outside group of people coming in and doing it, right?
Most of the
In our
girls,
backyard.
I don't know what the percentage is, but a high majority of the girls are our kids.
Joe?
Okay. I had a community member, I remember her emailing in about the conditions of the field itself, and the staff. Is it compared, because this guy, Mr. Sullivan, knows softball, how does that field compare to the north, and are we doing something about that? Like, are there other fields, if I remember correctly? Is that the rub with her, is that our fields are not really good condition, and is it up in the scope?
So, and I don't want to say, but there's some drainage damage that goes back 20 years now. The basketball and the tennis court is already rectified a lot of the issues that affects the 9th grade field with runoff. You realize this is, it's not soccer where you can get away with dips and valleys. These fields have to be right, the lips have to be right going into the transition into the outfield. So a lot of it was just Mother Nature when they were built. So just doing the basketball courts and the tennis courts, that's already helping. This layer here, and I will not be voting for this on consent, I will have to abstain because my daughter does play for the organization. But working in agreement with a community-based group that's going to put the work into helping us where we can't do the extra help is open across the board. When you can pull up and you have, this organization brings kids in from all over, they bring tournaments in from all over, you know, when they drive up and they see Council Rock and it doesn't look good, that's a reflection on us. But this is something I'd like to see mirrored around the district. We have organizations that play basketball, play softball, and baseball in our facilities. Partnerships, it's not about the money, we don't make a ton of money in facilities, but building partnerships, relationships with our kids, and making safe areas for our kids to play. It keeps them off the streets, it keeps them out of our neighborhoods where they could be doing something a little more beneficial, it keeps them out of our supermarket parking lot, so to speak. You know, putting a kid in sports is the right direction. It builds a lot of character for that child. So I was a part of having this conversation, just was great making this happen. I can't vote for this. I love this concept. But beyond paperwork, this is the right thing to do to build community relations with the school district. And a lot of our kids will be going through South, they'll go to South practice and they got rock practice after that. So it's a good thing. And I'm not saying it because my kid plays there. I said it, Bruce said, I said it with Patriot, it's the way to do business. And it makes everyone's life better for that. So I strongly agree with this, and I appreciate the work you did. Thank you.
Good. Any more questions? Good concerns? All right.
So I don't want to leave this quite yet. I will be talking to CR Basketball, Council Rock Basketball, because they rent a tremendous amount of space with us. So I think they are another organization that would probably benefit us.
Yeah.
And they're a great partner. I didn't interrupt.
No, I agree. You talking about the CRBA?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that they're probably going to be, I'm hoping that a lot of these youth sport organizations are going to be receptive to this. And it's going to be interesting to find during that negotiation how we can improve the relationship by us giving or them giving, or somehow we weave it together. So I think it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Because if the facility's not right, they're not coming back. They're not going to damage their house if that's the house they play in. And that's, take pride in your schools. I mean, that's where it starts. Once the school starts failing, neighborhoods fail. You know, again, we shouldn't let that happen. Thank you, Justin. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, ABM end of year or end of school survey results. So these, we didn't talk about this in in June, because the results, we weren't quite finished with them yet. I did learn something from these questions, and it's the wording. So bear with me on these results, because if you take it for just what it says and not listen to what I'm going to say, it's skewed here. Okay, so based on the experience of your school, has ABM done a satisfactory job with custodial services in your building? 100% of the people that responded to the survey said yes. So the next question, has any staff contacted you regarding the quality of the custodial services provided by ABM? 45% said yes. But within this 45%, most of them were to say, hey, they're doing a great job. So you think, being kind of, I'm a little pessimist sometimes, I think, 45% contacted with a problem. Doesn't necessarily mean there was a problem.
45 says no.
I'm sorry. Correct, 45% says no, and 55% said yes. So 55% said yes. Out of the 55%, you're right.
I can't believe I still see it.
Out of the 55%, all but one of them was to say good things. And one of them had to say something about the bathrooms, increasing cleaning on the bathrooms. So the bottom left, your opinion, has ABM made improvements since the first half of the school year, December through January of 2022? So the no is 45%. And that's because, 55%. That is because most of them are saying, no, they have remained steady. So I have to reword these after seeing the results and seeing the comments.
Yeah, maybe a graduated scale would be better for next time.
Yes, yes. So then on a scale of 1 to 5, please rate the level of cleanliness and your satisfaction with ABM's custodial services for January through June 2023. We had 2 that gave us a 3, We had 4 that gave us an 8, and, 8 that gave us a 4, and 1 that gave us a 5. So we did review these with ABM. Like I said, most of the comments were the quality of the cleaning in the bathrooms. So Charlie and Bernie took that loud and clear, and working with their staff to making sure that they're really paying attention to the bathrooms. One of the other ones was related to use of facilities, to making sure that we're contacting any of the groups. I know one recently had a dance event in one of our auditoriums, and when they left, there was glitter everywhere. So we went back to them and actually charged them for the additional cleaning requirements, because I don't know where all the glitter came from.
So Jeff,
It's
who
just
was
a massive
surveyed?
amount.
Who was surveyed in this?
The principals.
Okay.
Yep. So the next thing that we'll be doing to survey is, once school starts, get kids back in, and finding out from the principals how did they do over the summer cleaning, they're doing the summer cleaning. One huge piece of information that ABM does provide me on a weekly basis is their summer cleaning progress report. This one is from week ending 7/29. I can pass this along if you guys want to take a look at it. But they give me a map of every school and where they're done. So, for instance, Wrightstown, everything but where the camps are is 100%. So then we're able to say, okay, let's go to Wrightstown, let's do a final evaluation, see if there's any issues so that they can make changes in the month of August. I'm not going to read through all of them, but for instance, Goodnoe, the bottom part of the school is 100%. Again, this is the end of July. And they just have to finish this top portion where the gym is, and some other auxiliary areas. So they are in complete conversation with us to over the summer and the progress that they're doing. So if anybody who does want to take a look at this, I can pass it along. Okay, and then for upcoming agenda items, again, revisit the use of facilities, policy 707. We are working on implementing the upgrade for event planner. So once we get through that, I'm going to be working with Angela to have some updates to this, some suggested policy updates. I think one of the things is having an agreement with people that, like, these are the rules and regulations for our schools, and these are the consequences if you guys don't follow them. We currently don't have them, so if Joe Schmo off the street comes in and wants to rent, we don't have like our rules and regulations kind of thing. And then making sure that we identify buckets of user groups. You know, if you're an outside user that's for-profit, you fall in this. If you are an outside user that's non-profit, you fall in this. If you are a community user for-profit, community user for non-profit, just so we can allocate who is paying what and make it a little bit more clear. And then the last thing is the Newtown Elementary School data wiring bid. We need to get this out to bid for IT so we can get the Newtown Elementary School data upgraded.
And we can add the future of RMS.
Yes. Yes.
Chancellor and Ostrac.
Yes.
Just the revisiting again the school facilities, are we going to be talking about pricing again? I know that was mentioned as well.
I think, well, pricing is part of it, because I think once we define who the users are, making sure that they're paying the appropriate amount of money. So I think, I think our pricing overall is pretty good. But,
I think the cleaning costs is where we're starting to get along.
Yes, so we're going to have to make a little bit of modification to that. Making sure that we're outlining, if you have a group of like 500 people in the auditorium, you now have to hire security and list what that cost is.
Okay.
Okay?
It's going to be a broad conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
And I think a lot of it, Angela's really pushing this because she gets a lot of phone calls and people not understanding, so she's asked multiple times for some help on this so that we can have.
Yeah, and I would suggest, if she can, just throw everything she's got questions about against the wall, and let's work through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that evolve with this use of our applications and stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Good, thank you.
All yours, Mr. Rapp.
Thank you, Jess. Anybody, anything else for Jess? 'Cause I think you get to go home.
I'll say, one thing we did not talk about, Mr. Rose, about
Yes.
warranty.
Yes.
So I know we have discussed a little bit of warranty information for different projects. So currently, our standard is to have a 1-year warranty. That's pretty typical in the industry, at least for school construction. So I would recommend keeping that, and my recommendation is based on the knowledge of equipment breaking down. So the sheer amount of work that we've done over the past 11 or 12 years, the cost to increase to a 5-year warranty, I don't think has proven to be worth it, because we've had very little repair work within those first 5 years. So, so I think the district overall having the 1-year warranty has been pretty good. Now there are items like we were talking, like the roofing, that you typically either have 20 or 30 years. So that would be an outlier, but overall keeping the 1-year warranty is probably a smart decision for the district,
As opposed to 5.
as opposed to 5 or even longer, because you're gonna pay a significant amount of increase for that 5-year warranty.
And you feel that our maintenance department
Yes.
is more able to keep things running
Yes.
than paying for that additional money?
Yes, because usually it's minor things, belts, that comes to the top of my head right now, and that's not covered under warranty anyway.
Right.
And then, if you do have major accidents, whether it's user provided or like natural disasters, that's not covered under warranty either. I often say that think about your car warranty. If you take your car and drive it into the Schuylkill River, it's not covered under warranty. So stuff like that's not covered under warranty.
All right. Tony?
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Thank you, board members, and those of us, you online and the public, for joining us tonight. Finance agenda for tonight is we're going to talk about approving the engagement letter for the 22-23 financial statement audit. We're going to talk about our contract for purchasing propane and an extension for that contract. I'm bringing back an issue with the physician contract that you approved last month. I would like your approval to renew the stop-loss insurance policy. I'd like to discuss some changes I'm requesting to policy 620 fund balance. I'm going to give you an information item on the 24-25 budget update, and I'd like you to want to discuss if you would approve our participation in the school breakfast program for this school year. First item on the agenda is the engagement letter with BBD, who has been performing our audit. There are 2 letters. One is for the 22-23 audit of the financial statements, and the other one is for the 22-23 agreed upon procedures for our tax collection. We have them come in and look at our receipts from the tax collectors and tie out different amounts. It's called an agreed upon procedures, where we ask them to perform certain procedures for us, and we've been doing this for several years. The cost will be $26,000 for the audit and $3,500 for the agreed upon procedure. That's a total increase of $1,500 over the prior year. $1,000 for the audit, $500 for the agreed upon procedure.
Questions, objections? No, this is the firm we've been using. Okay.
The next item is propane contract extension. So we currently have a contract to provide our propane with a company called Rhodes Energy, and it's set to expire at the end of the 23-24 school year, the current year. The contract requires that we purchase a minimum of 300,000 gallons of propane per year at the price for that year. In 22-23, we were short 90,829 gallons of that 300,000 requirement. Rhodes Energy, they want to work with us. They've come to us and said that they'll let us obtain the unused gallons at the 23-24, in 23-24 to fulfill contract terms. So we'll be purchasing propane in 23-24 at 22-23 prices until we get to that 90,829 gallons. That will, and the reason that we're behind is because we used to have more propane buses. Now we have fewer propane buses and some diesel buses. And I'll get more on that as I talk about this. So because of that, they're willing to, they really could charge us a penalty for not meeting that requirement, and then same thing next year if we don't meet the requirement and the contract. But they're offering this, so once the 22-23 contracts terms are fulfilled, once the contract terms are fulfilled in this year, they'll switch to the 23-24 pricing. So we'll be paying at that level. We don't expect that we're going to meet the minimum after we use those 90,000 gallons. We don't expect that we're going to meet the 23-24 minimum. And so the contract ends at 23-24. They're asking if we would extend the contract in the 24-25 to cover the rest of the 23-24 agreement. And then once we give them the number of gallons that we would use in 24-25 that we would think we would need to fulfill the year, we would give them that number and they would give us a price. And just because of the market, they will give us a price for 24 hours before. So the morning of the board meeting, they would give us the price, and that would be the price that you would approve that night. And we would lock in that price for for the remaining part of 24-25, and the contract would end then.
Quick question. Yeah. So for the 24-25 year though, we're only locking in what our, I guess, best estimate of what we're going to use.
Yes.
As opposed, so I mean, it's looking like at this point, probably less than 100,000 gallons. It would be at that point, right?
Well, so the issue with Durham is, with Durham, not the issue, but what happened was, is they had promised us all propane buses by the beginning of this school year. Their provider of school buses stopped making propane buses. So they had to go back to find another vendor to sell them new propane buses. They've been able to do that, and they are now building up the propane bus fleet. They have agreed that they will give us the difference, or provide us the price of the difference between what we would be paying for propane and what we're paying for diesel. So any diesel that we pay, that we use in 23-24, we will pay the propane. We will only pay the propane price for that. So if we use, if propane's $1 and diesel's $5, I don't know the prices, these are just guesses. We would only pay $1 for the diesel for 24-25 until they fulfill their obligation to have an all-propane fleet. So they're covering that part of the contract where they said they would have an all-propane fleet by the beginning of this year. Because they're not, they're covering that difference.
Do they have an idea of when they will have an all-propane fleet? Is there an update?
They don't really have an idea. I mean, they're adding buses all the time, but I would hope by the end of this year, but
Is that posted? Because a lot of people have, there's been community outcry about not having propane buses. So maybe if that is the case, that there's something being done, if it makes sense, I don't know if you probably see if that makes sense to put a little note that, hey, this is, maybe a clarification. I think, might be worth putting out there because, Durham's doing something about it, just a positive.
Good suggestion, thank you. Any other questions, comments? No? Next, thank you.
The next item is approve a physician agreement. So last month I had you, we have St. Mary's Medical Center, you approved a agreement with their physicians to provide standing orders for our trainers and a presence at our football games, a physician, a team doctor at our football games. We sent the contract back to St. Mary's, and one of the things that was wrong with it was it's not actually with St. Mary's, it's with Langhorne Physician Services. And they really didn't want the complicated contract that we had given them. So they came back with like a one-page letter of agreement. And it just basically states that they're volunteering to provide these services to us. And it's in the agenda, in the board docs agenda if you want for you to review. So it's much simpler. So we've, we're talking, it actually doesn't state in the agreement about malpractice insurance. It doesn't state that, but we have worked out where they are insured for malpractice up to $1 million. We also on our policy have a liability endorsement for healthcare that covers trainers, at third party trainers, nurses, and physicians up to $1 million as well. So we're covered first on there, and then we also have our additional coverage for any mistakes that they might make. So I'm sorry about this slide. This was right up to the meeting when these items were going back and forth. So the agreement doesn't clearly state who the insurance is, but we have the information as to what their insurance is and what our insurance is. So.
And our legal counsel has reviewed.
Our legal counsel has reviewed this letter. They've asked me to provide, make sure that we have the information on the insurance. So we're covered with that.
Great. Questions? No? Mike?
Yeah, so a quick Google, were there any other physician services that were considered?
No, I would say this is a community service agreement. There's no cost for this.
No, I understand that.
And we've been using them for years. The athletic departments are very happy with the services that they provide.
Okay.
So there's no requirement that we go anywhere else, since it is a community service and it is part of our community.
So we have been working with them.
Yes, we've been working with them for several years on a handshake agreement.
And this just solidifies.
This solidifies it.
If we've been happy with the services that they've provided.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Part of this also, beyond the handshake agreement, the physician that was provided to us is retiring, and they have a new physician coming on board. And so I think that's where the let's make this a little bit more formal and official came from, with the natural change.
Stop loss insurance policy renewal. So we have what's called a stop loss policy. And just in case anybody's not familiar with it, I'll go over it real quick. We have a self-insurance fund. So we have that health fund where our claims are paid from that, basically the premium, employees and the district pay premiums into that fund. And then the monies are used to administrate the health insurance plan and to pay the claims. In order to prevent a large claim or large claims from depleting that fund, we have what's called a stop loss policy, where once we hit $325,000 on an individual claim, the stop loss policy kicks in and covers the remaining amounts. So our current threshold is $325,000 on this policy. Our broker approached 7 carriers for quotes. Of those 7 carriers, 2 declined to quote, 4 were uncompetitive, and Highmark, who was our current carrier, had the lowest quote, and our broker actually negotiated an even better quote. And you can see that information as well is in the agenda. And this isn't even talking over 325, our $1 million claims have increased by 48% over the last 4 years. So I think in 2019 we had, I don't want to, it was like 120 or 119, and we're at like 158 at this point. So, so the new annual premium with Highmark is going to be $1,377,851, and that's an increase of $386,718 or 39% over the prior year. We have, obviously we've had claims go up, and so this insurance is getting more expensive. But this is not a general fund expense. This is paid out of the healthcare fund where we already know we have a healthy balance. And this is really the best quote that we could get. We went to 7. And this is also something where a lot of carriers are getting out of this business. So that's making it even more difficult to have a more competitive bid. But we do seem to have, at least a decent policy here. We did look into increasing the threshold to $350,000. And which of course would lower our premium, but we'd have to pay out more. But our use of insurance last year, if we would apply that threshold, it would actually cost us $12,861 more than if we had to have raised the minimum amount, the threshold amount. So we're recommending renewing this policy and leaving the threshold at $325,000.
Questions? Does this include pharmaceutical benefit?
Yes, it does.
So a lot of that expense increase has been on the pharmaceutical benefit.
Yes.
Yeah, with new medications, personalized medicine. I know that we've talked about that before. There have been some large costs there.
Yeah, these medicines that come out with the heavy advertising, most of those are extremely expensive, $1,000 a month, and we're covering those.
Yeah.
And if it follows a pretty severe illness, then this policy is kicking in and covering.
And you pointed out that we have a healthy balance in our healthcare fund.
Yes.
So this does not affect the general operating budget.
No, it does not affect the general fund at all. And, I will present better number, end of year results at next month's meeting, but we're probably looking at another increase in 22-23 in that fund.
Okay. This policy gets renewed and updated every year.
Yes. Yeah. So hopefully we don't have a lot of activity on this policy again, and maybe the premium will come down. But if you think about the cost, this is a pretty risky policy for the insurance company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one claim. All right, no more questions? Okay, thank you.
So policy 620 is our fund balance policy. Again, a version of it is on the agenda with some changes for you with the changes I'd like to see crossed out. It actually is not on the website. It hadn't been approved or hadn't been made it to the website, so we also need to get this policy fixed. But the big thing that I'm asking you for, a lot of the changes that are on there are minor changes, wording changes related to new GASB regulations that had come out that change the wording that we're supposed to use. The big change, though, that I'm asking for is we currently set a minimum and maximum of 4%, so our unassigned fund balance, that's the portion that's not assigned or, I can't think of the word off the top of my head, committed. Our policy is that it shouldn't be less than 4% or more than 5%. I'm coming to the board to ask you to change the policy to raise the unassigned fund balance to 8%. The reason I'm doing that is several reasons. It provides more protection in case of unexpected events. It matches the Commonwealth's maximum of 8% unassigned fund balance. So right now, the Commonwealth says, the PDE says that your maximum fund balance can't be more than 8%. So, and basically, if we get over that threshold, we transfer money. We're required to either assign it, commit it, or transfer it out. So because I would like to just build up a healthier unassigned fund balance and get us to that 8% level. It makes us more comparable to other local districts, and because most of them do use the 8%, and it helps to protect our current bond rating. And the only reason I'm saying that is I don't think our bond rating was in any jeopardy when we did our last bond issue, but I would, having some extra money in there. That was just one of the questions that they asked. They had no issue with it. It didn't change our bond rating, but the healthier, pretty much the only way our bond rating is ever going to improve is if we increase our unassigned fund balance. The problem is we'd have to probably have, and I'm talking about of next year's budget expenditures when I'm talking about these percentages. I apologize. Is if we had a really like we tripled our unassigned fund balance right now, and we're not going to, we can't do that for the PD rules. But I would like to change that upper limit to 8%.
Just saying that straight. I think that's where I thought we would begin. So we always hear people saying 5%, but the minimum will still be 4. You're going to keep that at 4, still at 8, then?
Yes. Yes.
The minimum will still be 4 and 8%, from 5 to 8%. I like that.
Yes, and one, I will say that an effect of that will be most likely our ending fund balance, our increase in fund balance. And again, I'll cover this more next month, but our increase in fund balance would just stay in the general fund this year and not transfer to. It would, we still wouldn't be at 8%, but we'd be able to go over 5.
Anyone else? It seems to me we've been above 5% in the past.
We weren't last year,
No.
but
Yeah, that's before you.
yeah, it's before me as an auditor because I didn't know that. Well, that's,
Yeah.
Could you just tell us what 8% would be then, hypothetically?
uh,
On this year's budget?
200.
260.
68.
21?
Well, it's 21,440.
21, yeah.
You're right, we've been way over, our fund balance has been in
28 grand. I mean, 28 million.
40. So.
Well, remember that's assigned unassigned fund
Okay,
balance.
we're talking different.
Yeah, the total fund balance is well over
Okay, thank you.
8%.
Unassigned,
Unassigned, yeah.
okay, so, that's good.
Good. All right, great.
I wanted to give you an update on what we're doing with the 24-25 budget. We had a retreat earlier this month. I met with administrators group to go over plans for the 24-25 budget. We are accelerating the 24-25 budget process, probably trying to move everything up by at least a couple of months. Some mandatory changes that we're rolling out to start this budget year is a use of a common budget worksheet. We found that a lot of places in their budget would use a old spreadsheet that had account numbers that are no longer active, and it makes for some difficulty in entering budgets and which is another thing that we spend a lot of time entering budgets. But I want more ownership in the people who are entering the budgets, and I want them to enter the budgets. Michelle spent a lot of time getting budgets from people and entering the budgets for them. I want to put a stop to that for the most part and have them entering in their own budgets. And I want all budget entries in the 300 to 900 section to be made in detail. I don't want to see the budget anymore saying $20,000 for supplies. I want to see what supplies you want to buy, because that's important when it comes around to to administration knowing what's in the budget. We're not, if we have to make changes to the budget, we're not doing it blind. So, I do plan the budget education for the staff and how things are going to be. We do plan to continue that throughout the year. We have plans for every superintendent's meeting for me to present budget information. And I'm trying to get I'm making it clear that I want to be out there to help people in this process along. The training that I provided at the retreat, I would be very willing to go out to schools and do that for the staff and buildings. I plan to, around the time that I'm asking for the 300 to 900 budgets, I want to make myself available that week so people can come in, or I can go out and I can sit down with them and we can go over their 300 to 900 budget. So, and my who are involved with the budget, I also like them to be able to be involved in helping, people get their budgets done. So that's our plan for right now. And I'm not going to make it great, I'm not going to make it perfect by the end of this year, but every year we see an improvement to get things better.
So what was the feedback from the team on your presentation in this type of mindset?
It was mostly positive. It was, there's some issues, not issues, but questions about I'm not able to access the budget, and I, my response to that would be, okay, that's fine if you can't access the budget, but you can get your person who does access the budget to print out these spreadsheets that I taught them. And it's basically, I taught them how to use a spreadsheet that comes right out of our software system that gives them 10 years of expenses, 10 years of budgets for all their accounts, and they can put it out on a spreadsheet and they can add to that and add in their budget numbers and see where their trends are going, so that they can do their budget. So that I thought was good. I thought it was mostly positive.
I always find it interesting, and I guess you don't want to sit there and micromanage building budgets per se, but I always find it interesting what some schools spend money on and other schools don't.
Yes.
And I don't want to specifically talk about specific things because you'll know what school I'm talking about, but there's some administrators that have spent a lot of money in recent years on technology to keep their buildings afloat, so to speak, and other schools haven't. So I'd like to see how this progresses itself out, and I'm not saying you need to point fingers and tell them how to spend their money, but I think depending on what school you go into, there's a mindset that this is important, and this is what I want to spend my money on, and other schools, they don't.
Right.
But I also respect the fact that we have PTOs that are raising a lot of money to backfill those areas that the building budget doesn't extend to. But it's interesting, and you can go down every school. Every school's got their own little niche, what we like to do every year. Whether it's a school play or technology in the buildings, because not every school does it. So this is an interesting rollout, and it should help your job, but it'd be interesting how it compares when you start going down and dropping down through the numbers, how everybody spends accordingly.
Well, and one of the things that I feel is important in this is getting them to take ownership of their budget. Mm-hmm. There are things, that we have to worry about as administrators that we don't know, might not know what's going on if they're not providing that feedback. You talk about Title IX issues. I don't know what the Title IX, there might be a Title IX issue that's not evident to me, but it would be evident to the person filling out the budget. And I think one of the things they said is that they weren't allowed to provide much feedback. I want that feedback. I want them to write in, be able to say why something was spent. Say that they're seeing that we might need to spend more here to be even on both sides. So.
And I talk often about finding efficiencies within the budget.
Yes.
And I think this will clearly open the door to look at it from a different way and finding possibly finding those efficiencies. So, no, this is great work. This is the type of work that I think goes a long way in developing the budget, starting to get everybody to buy into the overall budget, but more importantly, hold them accountable, because we often talk about that. This is good.
I think, I'm sorry, Mr. Tate. No, I thank you. I think the two things that are takeaways for me, and Tony and I have spoken about this, is that this is going to provide consistency across all the schools. We had a huge learning opportunity when we worked this year after Tony came on and learned about the different spreadsheets. So that's huge. And the second is the level of detail. Because as Tony said, you know, if you take a sports program or a curricular area and there's a number assigned to it, we want to be able to see what that is. Not that we're micromanaging it, but we want to see that we have consistency across schools the best we can.
Yeah, and I don't, right, and I think, my opinion is our principals run their own buildings there. I don't want to take their heart out of what they do, but I also want some level of consistency, as Dr. Corporal was saying, somewhat parity across the district. But to me, this helps the bigger picture, which is what we have to deal with, when we talk about this overall budget. So it's a great way of looking at it.
I agree, and as somebody who's managed my own budgets, I think asking people to provide more detail forces them to be reflective about what they're doing with their money. It's not tying their hands, to your point, Ed, but it's asking them to be more thoughtful about it. And the other thing I'll mention is that I was having a conversation with one of our folks recently about all sorts of stuff. And that person volunteered that the process that Dr. Senko had everybody go through, a second cut at budget after, the board asked for, a review of the budget proposal. This person was telling me that they felt it was really effective, that there was a greater examination of their spending requests than had been done in the past. So I think it started this year already, that people are realizing they need to be a little more thoughtful about their budget requests, which is great. I mean, I think all of us want to provide all the resources that is necessary to do the best job possible. Just, being more thoughtful about it, a little bit more. I like the word consistency, Dr. Senko.
This is another one of these items that's been, when I first started putting this together, it was a completely different item. So the state budget was passed. The state budget includes the free breakfast program, so that means that the federal program that provides students with a free, reduced, or paid lunch is in effect breakfast. At breakfast, and the state plans to supplement, as they did last year, the program so that any student who is on reduced price for breakfast or paid price for breakfast, they will pay for those meals. So the state is adding that portion like they did last year. So part of that is another thing that they've done, that this is a new thing. So on the lunch program, any student that qualifies for a reduced lunch, the state, so we have the same thing with the lunches where they get free, reduced, and paid. Any child who qualifies for a reduced lunch, which is, I think they pay about 40 cents for those lunches, the state is going to pay for that portion too. So we really only have the status of free or paid. And so we'll receive the federal portion and the Commonwealth will subsidize the remaining portion. The lunch program we participate in every year, but I wanted you to approve the participation in the free breakfast program and the breakfast program for the 23-24 school year. So I would be asking you to approve that at next week's meeting. And we need to get the application in the day after, but so there's no cost to the district for those breakfasts, and and no cost to the students. So.
What is the breakfast? Do we have details on what is provided for free? And do we have an understanding of, is there anything that we need to do as a district to the state in order to continue this?
Yes, we have to apply for it. We have to fill out an application for the state, send it into the state.
Beyond the application.
I mean, we have to meet the nutritional requirements. I'm not capable of telling you what those are. That's why we have Chartwells to do that, and they provide breakfast based on what the USDA tells them they need to provide.
Right, but do we have an idea of what that breakfast is? Are we talking K through 12, or is this just 9 to 12?
Oh, no, this is throughout the district, all grade levels.
So as a kid comes in off the bus, they go to the cafeteria to get a free breakfast?
Yes.
And then they can eat it in their homeroom?
Yes.
And that breakfast consists of maybe some fruit?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be probably some sort of protein, some starch, and then fruit or vegetable.
When it was provided last year, much like Tony, I can't tell you the nutritional information. When the students came into the building, it was like a brown bag, and it would have a drink, a milk, or a piece of fruit, something like a granola bar. They're not sitting down and having, pancakes and stuff. Right. But they will get it. And then, school by school, and based on when buses arrive, schools varied a little bit. Some buses that arrive early, particularly at the elementary level, there was time in the cafeteria for students that arrived early enough on their bus. Students who rode buses that arrived a bit later, they were able to take that into their room and eat it, or eat it during, we have scheduled snack time at the elementary school. So, but it is not, when we say breakfast, it is not a sit-down, 3 eggs, bacon, toast kind of breakfast. Yeah.
And it is only, there's no paid breakfast, like with the reduced lunch program, you said it's either free or paid.
Yes.
Breakfast, it's just free
Just free.
or,
Correct. We don't offer.
there's not a paid offer, like you can't come in and buy that bag.
No.
Okay. Any concerns, objections, questions? No? All right.
One question, Director Gosai.
Yeah.
Is there any hot food? It's not hot food.
No, listen,
Would that be possible?
We would need to ask Chartwells that, but I think the answer is no, based on what we saw last year.
It'd be interesting to
No
know.
hot food.
It's just they're not doing it, or it's not hot? That's a.
And it's by, if they volunteer if they want to do it or not. So,
Spots.
no, food at all, no hot food. But if we were all on the same bus, got dropped off at school, 3 people may want to do the breakfast, the rest of us would pass on it.
Yeah, so it has to be.
and what happens, is there leftovers, or
I'm sorry.
have there been leftovers in the past? What happens?
Sounds like it's all
there?
pre-prepared
Is there
stuff, so
fresh fruit?
just
Or
go
do we
over.
not have fresh fruit because it may pack prepackaged?
Yeah.
Well, the fresh fruit would then be served at lunch
I have seen it.
because,
We do that.
again, that's another requirement. I know the requirements for lunch is going to be, that so I know the lunch a little bit better. There's 5 possible requirements. You need 3 of them to qualify for a free lunch. And I know one of those is fresh fruit because that's probably the one we have the toughest time with.
And Chartwells, when we did it previously, they were prepared for many students to get the free breakfast, and they kind of benchmarked it, and then knew in short order the average number of students that chose to participate.
So they adjusted
They adjusted.
based on the uptake. Great. Any others? No? Okay. Next.
And upcoming agenda items, as I said, I will provide you with the 22-23 results of operations at next month's meeting, and I'll provide you with the 23-24 results to date. Talk about some projecting and that. I'm thinking probably on a 2-month basis that I might do that, although I want to get, since I'm a little bit new at this, I want to get into the year. I really didn't see doing projections based on July because, there's not much going on in July, but, I want to adjust that depending on, where the information changes. So, but I would figure it'd be no less than 2 months at a time, every 2 months.
Great. Great, great.
And that's it for
Comments, questions?
finance.
Everybody happy? Look, everybody's happy. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Dr. Sanko. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Rob. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Jim, thank you. Thanks for staying, thanks for setting up.
Thanks for covering this tonight.
After the meeting's over.
Right.
What?
He only helps us after the meeting.
Who's John?
And you're hated at the beginning.
Are we all fair?
Yeah. Answer about the rock.
So it's not.
I just don't want, once it goes, once it's